Welcome to the Brand Telling Podcast, where we go beyond basic branding with powerful stories as told by brand builders, owners, and founders. Now, here are your hosts, Chief Brand Teller Arthur Germain and the Brand Chef Asaf Bachman.
We used to say that armies run on their stomachs, but every business owner listening knows that your business runs on technology. Without the right technology, you're way behind your competitors.
The trouble starts when you fall down the rabbit hole of buying and maintaining tech for your business. Apple this, Dell that. I'm no expert.
We don't have to be tech geniuses to figure this all out. That's what MSPs, or managed services providers, do every day.
But just like it was for an earlier guest, Justin Baliunas of Magnif-A-Tents, you want your tech company brand to be invisible and silent until you need them.
You know, that makes it tough, if not impossible, to build and promote your tech brand. That's what we're going to discuss on today's episode of the Brand Telling Podcast. I'm your host, Arthur Germain, and with me is my co-host, Asaf, the Brand Chef Bachman.
Thanks, Arthur. Today's guest is David Steiner, partner and director of business development for Cypress Grove Technologies, a boutique IT firm that provides support, consulting, and services to small and medium professional service firms throughout Manhattan and Long Island. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, both of you, for having me. Technically speaking, we're actually global. I have a client here in New York that has 2 offices in India that we support. I also have clients all over the country. So while our base of operations and our primary client base is here in New York, the boroughs in Long Island, we have clients who have distributed offices and remote workers in, I think, 30 states.
You know, I think 5 years ago, that might have been a really shocking statement. And now, because we got through the pandemic, everyone's like, you mean somebody actually goes into an office? So, you know, you've got remote workers everywhere. Even if you used to just be a small shop, you know, in Hotbog, you have somebody who's working from home in Northport because that's just how it works today, you know?
Absolutely. We are a small team. We're 5 technicians. One of them has been with me for 3 years, came to me in April and said, hey, I want to move to Ohio. I'm going to move to Ohio. I would like to continue to work for you. How do you feel about that? My answer is, his name is David as well, David. I said, David, you've worked for me for 3 years. If you asked me 3 years ago when I hired you if I would let you do remote, my answer would have been absolutely not. But having built the trust and rapport that we have, I'm more than happy to do it. He's in Ohio now, and he has become one of my best technicians.
And he's been trained by you. He understands the processes. He knows how to work. And now he can do it from wherever he is.
I picked him up fresh out of school. I think he was weeks out of school with his computer science degree. And the first year was obviously a lot of learning, but he's been with me 3 years now, and he has really grown into the role. He's really embraced what he does. He has a passion for what he does. I try to curate my staff, and I try to make sure that my staff all have a passion for this. They have an understanding, they have a desire to continue to grow and learn. Because in any business, but especially technology, the day you stop learning is the day you die, not literally.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Cypress Grove? What is it, and who are the kinds of companies that you serve?
I would love to. So as you said, we're an MSP, a managed service provider. So for those listeners that don't understand it, there's basically 2 models of outsourced IT. There's time and materials. We call it break fix. And those are relationships are very reactive. Client calls you when they have a problem, you fix the problem, you send them a bill.
Right.
The MSP model, managed service provider, is a subscription model. So what we do is we charge a flat fee based on whatever the environment. It's always custom, but it's a flat fee. And we do give everything the client needs. And this way, they don't have to wait until there's a big problem. They can call us with all the little smolders, and we can smother those smolders before they become flames.
Yeah.
And it gives cost predictability. It gives stability. And we're going to talk about some of the other aspects that that model provides. Now, Cypress Grove, specifically as an MSP, we like to think ourselves as a little bit different than what the market is. There's about 15,000 MSPs in this country.
Yeah, give or take, right?
Give or take. My partner Burke and I will often say, we don't really have any competition because of the way we run our business. And it's not that we're doing anything special with the technology, but what we're doing is we're being very selective with who we work with. We decided a decade ago when we started that we're going to work with professional services companies. We're not going to work with retail. We're not going to work with hospitality. Nothing against those industries.
No, but you got to have a place that's your wheelhouse.
Correct. The professional services are very much aligned with our mentality. Think about a lawyer. They're charging $500 an hour. They're doing premium work, and they expect premium vendors and things like that. So we have aligned primarily with accountants and lawyers, with the vast majority of our clients being attorneys and law firms, with a smattering of other things, but primarily attorneys and law firms. And those guys, those people, really understand the concept of, if I pay a premium, I will get a premium, and then I can focus on my business.
Right. And they understand the difference between core versus context. If they're a lawyer, it's core to them to do the law. That's what they do. It's context to figure out why their laptop isn't working or connecting to Wi-Fi. It's those guys who are like, I'll do this on my own. I'll go buy a Linksys router, and okay, they're not your client.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that makes Cypress Grove a little bit different is how selective we are with the clients we choose. I get referred all the time. I probably got 6 referrals in the month of December already, and it's the 4th. Maybe it was the last week of November as well. But I've gotten a bunch of referrals already this month. I'm only going to continue on with one of them because the other are not good clients for me.
Right.
They're not professional services. They're guys that are working from home that are running Verizon routers with no security and things like that.
Right.
So when you're working with clients and, most, if not all, the interactions are centered around a problem that you're there to fix, how do you push and promote your brand, on top of that to those same customers? How do you make them know that you're more than just the guy that fixes stuff?
That is a wonderful question, because what my clients think they pay for is help desk. Right. They think they're going to pay for the ability to call me and solve a problem. What they're actually paying for is operational efficiency.
Right.
What they're paying for is peace of mind. When my clients go home on Friday nights and they know that when they come in on Monday morning, their systems are going to be fully operational, whether there was an issue over the weekend or not. When they go home at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, they know 9 o'clock Wednesday, they're coming in, and they're stepping into an environment that is fully operational. Part of the way we do that is curating our stack of tools. I say stack like everybody understands what a stack is. A stack in our language is a set of tools, right? If you're an auto mechanic, your Snap-on box is your stack. For us, it's our tools, the things that we use to do our jobs, the security tools, the monitoring tools. So we curate a very, very high level set of tools. We also are in constant communication with our clients regularly. Not just my team, but me and my business partner are in constant communication with my clients so that they understand what's happening in their business. We're not the company that's doing quarterly business reviews and showing up once every 3 months saying, hey, here are all the tickets that we filled, pat ourselves on the back for closing all these tickets. No, we don't waste our time with that. We're calling our clients, we're seeing our clients, we're walking in, we're saying, how's the business going? What can we do to help the business, right? We know what we need to do from our job, from a technology perspective. But like I said, it's all about operational efficiency. So one of the things that I often ask my clients, well, you're running your law practice just using PDFs and Word docs. Have you considered a case management platform that will streamline it? Or have you considered a CRM? Asaf and I know someone recently that was, who's an attorney that's a startup, and he was asking about CRMs. And my advice to him was, don't do a CRM, get a case management platform that has a CRM component. Right. Allows him to live in a single system that ties into his email, ties into his scanner, everything becomes one single pane of glass, allowing him to be more efficient. He doesn't have to click around through 7 different programs.
Right.
He can live inside of one program.
Which makes entire sense because, and coming from your perspective, this is what the IT expert is recommending that you do so you can focus on being the legal expert.
Right.
Correct.
I was going to say that system, the big benefit of that system, visibly to me would be it would have features that are lawyer-centric.
Correct.
And not have features that are not lawyer-centric, and making it very efficient for them.
Look, Salesforce is a wonderful platform. It really is. I have several clients using it. It is extraordinarily robust. For a law firm, they need 3% of what Salesforce can do.
Right.
And a case management platform can do 90% of what they do. and the 10% or 3% or whatever that Salesforce can do as well.
So, as we're thinking about what you're saying here, what do you think is the thing that's, kind of sets Cypress Grove apart as an MSP in the way that it works with its customers?
That's actually my favorite question, because like I said earlier,
I try.
Like I said earlier, we don't consider any of the other MSPs in the market, not just on the island, as competitors. And the reason why we do this, we feel this way, is because my partner and I are so deeply involved in every single aspect of our business. We know our clients know us, our clients know our employees know our clients. When, my client Jared calls up, says, "Hey, this is Jared." He doesn't have to give a last name. I mean, obviously caller ID helps, to identify the company, but my guys know, because we've been working with Jared for 10 years. We know his voice. Mm-hmm. My guys, I have zero turnover. I've fired some people, but I have nobody quit in 10 years. My first hire still works for me. He knows 100% of my clients. My clients know him. Some of our clients, against my advice, still call him on his cell phone. He only lets one or two call him on his cell phone. But the point is that the client know Cypress Grove. We're not just a line item expense. One of the major aspects of our approach that does make us different is that we're not a vendor. We're a partner.
Right.
An example of this is 2 years ago, we're at one of our clients' Christmas parties. Our clients who are, our clients where they're vendors are inviting us to their Christmas parties. They're not inviting any other vendors. But this particular client, she's a lovely woman. She owns a thriving medical practice. She invites us to her Christmas parties every year. She has got about a staff of 30. And the first year we went to her Christmas party, it was the first year after COVID that we went. It was 2 or 3 years ago. We're talking to some of her staff, and they're, "Oh, it's great to meet you. Where, what office are you guys working in?" Well, I start telling her about our office in Albertson, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, "Wait, you don't work for the company?" "No, we are just an outsourced vendor." "Oh my God, I thought you were employees." To me, that is the biggest compliment.
Really? It is the highest compliment, right?
It really is.
It shows that her staff feels so attended to.
Yeah. That they were surprised you weren't on just a different floor in their building, right?
Correct.
That's fantastic.
Correct. It's a wonderful thing. I've gone to, one of my clients invited me to his 50th birthday party. Right?
That's great.
He's my client. But yet we're close enough that he felt it appropriate to invite me to his 50th birthday party.
So a lot of times, we talk when we have a guest, we talk about the way that they're marketing and everything. And you and I started talking about this before we were recording. In this industry, there's a funny way of marketing, and it uses an acronym MDF. These are marketing development funds. Now, you and I know there is no free lunch, but the vendors act as if there is a free lunch. So
you
the
say
larger
something
vendors,
about lunch?
Yeah. The chef is picked up. There are these marketing development funds that the larger vendors, HPE, Cisco, that they're giving out based on sales, and these marketing development funds are to be used to handle the marketing. But the vendors have been tighter and tighter on them. Use them in this way. Use them with my tools. Oh, put all of the people in your database into my database so that you can send information out to them and use our tools. I have strong feelings about it. How about yourself?
Since we're being recorded, I'll use good language. I dislike MDF.
Yeah. I have called it a drug sometimes because you kind of get hooked on it, and there are some MSPs who find it tough to stop using.
It sounds like a drug from the late 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm a Cisco partner, and there was an opportunity a few years ago where if I'd done certain things, I could have gotten like $50,000 from Cisco for MDF. I opted not to. I reject all MDF. And the reason goes back to what makes us different. We're not your vendor, we're your partner. And the difference between being a vendor and being a partner is the business alignment. Right. I'm doing things with my hands, but we're not on video. Is the business alignment. Yeah. My interest as Cypress Grove and MSP are aligned with my client's interest as the law firm.
Right, and not with your vendor's interest. Correct. As in what are we going to sell for them?
A perfect example of this is phone companies. Yep. Vonage, RingCentral, 8x8, you've heard them all. They are the biggest proponents of let me spend money, you bring your clients, and I will buy lunch and do a lunch and learn and this and that. The problem is that if I want to go with 8x8, but Ring Central's giving me money. I'm disingenuous to Ring Central. If I want my client to go with whatever is best for them, but I've taken money from Ring Central,
Right.
I'm disingenuous to my client.
Yeah.
So I reject all of that, because what I do is I work with my clients to find the right solution for them. A perfect example. I have a phone system company that I am partnered with that one of my clients has been on for several years. He's become dissatisfied with them for reasons that are unimportant. He asked me about a particular phone system I'm familiar with, but I was not partnered up with. I said, I'm familiar with them. Let's get on a demo. Let's get on a demo with another one of my partners and a third partner company. So it was one non-partner company, two partner companies. If either of those two partner companies gave me money, I would be probably breaking a contract, bringing them to a third party.
Right.
Meanwhile, the client loved the other system, and it really fits into their business model. Talking about case management, it has a really nice integration into their case management system, so they can actually dial in and out within their system. They don't have to go to the phone system. I'm partnered with that company now, but I wasn't previously. So because my motivation.
But now you're partnered in that you're serving their technology and you're understanding getting certified. You're not partnered as in that you're getting compensated on the outside. Yeah, you get compensated for the sale of the technology,
Absolutely.
but you're not compensated, to just market their technology.
No, for example, I wasn't a partner of Ring Central. One of my clients has Ring Central. We've been able to service it without partnership up to a point. Now I need to dive a little bit deeper. She needs to make some changes. I needed deeper access. So I went and I signed up with a partnership with Ring Central. They started immediately talking about, hey, if you do this, we'll give you this. I said, I'm not interested. I just want to do what's best for my clients. That's it.
Right.
And I signed up. Now, they're also going to be able to set my technicians up with some training so we can learn the back ends of these systems. All of it is about providing better service to our clients.
Right. And it sounds like those MDFs really put you in a position to not be able to have your clients' best interests in mind.
That's right.
Yeah. So when we get back, we're going to talk about the future of Cypress Grove Technologies in just a moment.
Hey there, if you're like most business owners or founders, you may find that after time, your brand has undergone some type of change. Maybe you've launched a new product, a new service, or a new location, or perhaps you've acquired some new talent or capability.
And now your team is struggling to communicate what makes your brand different and what sets you apart as the right choice.
And that's why Asaf and I have launched the Brand Building Bootcamp. It's a focused workshop where we reimagine, refresh, rebuild, and relaunch your entire brand.
We're essentially helping you become a category of one.
The Brand Building Bootcamp gives you a refreshed brand storybook, visual identity, magnetic website, and the tools for connecting your content with your audiences to increase your bottom line.
Arthur, don't forget, we're delivering all this in 30 days or less.
Yeah, no pressure.
Well, we're limiting the boot camp to only a few clients each month. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, if this sounds interesting, you can learn more at thebrandbuildingbootcamp.com and schedule a no-obligation brand chat with me and Asaf.
And now, let's get back to our podcast. And we're back with David from Cypress Grove Technologies. Thank you very much for joining us. David, can you go ahead and tell our audience what the future holds for the firm?
Also a very interesting question. Most business owners, when you ask them what the future holds, they want to grow the company, make the money, do the thing that builds the revenue. We actually have an opposite goal. We are going to stop our growth when we hit a certain point. And the reason is, and we have a ways to go for that growth, but the reason that we're not going to grow beyond a certain point is because within this industry, there's a very common thing where the MSP owner grows the company, it gets onto autopilot, it's self-sustaining, so they run off and start another company.
Right.
It's often within technology, it's a software company or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then when there's no captain at the helm of that ship flounders. Their technicians start slacking off. That's how I get my business.
Right.
When I was a kid, I used to play a lot of handball. My father was a handball coach he was a school teacher and a handball coach at his school.
I'm a big fan of handball. That's awesome.
When it gets warm again, we could play some handball. But I remember as a kid, 10, 12 years old, learning handball with my dad. That was our bonding experience. We would go play handball, and he was a 45-year-old guy moving across the court better than I could at 15. But one of the things one of the lessons that he taught me about handball, which I've taken and applied to almost every aspect of my life, is you don't have to play to win. You just have to play well enough to wait for the other guy to make a mistake, and then you win.
Yeah.
So that's our mentality here. We're not trying to be the best MSP on the market. We're just trying to be a little bit better than the next guy and wait for the next guy to mess up and let the clients come to us.
It's interesting. I mean, the more that I hear you talk, the more I hear something that Asaf and I call kind of the category of one. You may describe yourself as an MSP for other industry people, but it doesn't sound like you're an MSP so much as you're that, I'm not sure what, but like that extension of the IT team.
That's exactly right.
You know, I think lots of MSPs think of themselves the way you said. You know, what are they trying to do? They're waiting to get rolled up into somebody else's big MSP roll-up.
That statement you just made, you're an extension of their team, is something when we're talking to a new opportunity or a brand new client that just signed on, and we use those words. We're not your vendor. We are an extension of your team.
Right.
And when there's a problem, we solve it, because if we don't solve it, that client doesn't grow. That client doesn't make money. That client doesn't appreciate us. So we're not solving the problem because we're getting paid. We're solving the problem because we have a partnership with the client.
Because you're invested in them. Yeah.
And we get paid as a result.
Right. It almost sounds like you guys are like the Alfred of IT, where you're really there in the background, just kind of making sure everything goes smooth, but not overstepping boundaries.
That's correct. That's a very good assessment.
Yeah.
The Alfred of IT. I like that.
You know, the idea that we talked about a little bit earlier about how do you take a brand that, you know, nobody really sees and touches. They're not looking, you're not labeling everything. How do you promote that brand? That's Alfred. You're right back there. And when they reach for the technology, oh, look, it's available to them. That, you know, what they're looking for is needed.
The way we describe our services is we want your IT to be like your toaster oven. When you wake up in the morning, you go downstairs to your kitchen, you pop a piece of bread in the toaster, and you expect it to work.
Yep.
And when it's done, you expect it to pop up and be brown in the shade that you want.
Right.
Your wife may want a darker shade of brown. Your kids may want a lighter shade of brown. You're going to make your setting, and you just have an expectation that it's just going to work. We try to make our IT for our clients just work.
So if you think about, you know, the experience you want to leave CGT customers with from a brand perspective, is that?
Well, first, let me correct you. We're not CGT. We are Cypress Grove Technologies, talking about a brand.
Right.
You know, internal communications, we use the acronym, but on all communications, anything client-facing, public-facing, we want our full name because that's our identity.
100%.
And you guys are brandy guys, so I know
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You're not going to get pushback from me. You know, I often have played brand police where I'm like, no, you have a name and let's use the whole name. So let me say that again then. How do you envision Cypress Grove Technologies customers experiencing your brand? What is that experience you want to leave them with?
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
Sleep. Good sleep. You know, vacations. The idea is when you sign up with Cypress Grove, you are putting a lot of faith and trust in us to maintain your business. But we are the experts, and we're going to do it in a way that is not impactful to your business. You know, we're going to do it in the background, like Alfred does. We're going to make sure that your systems work, that you are running in the most efficient way possible. If you need better technology, we're calling you up. You know, I have a lot of different experience outside of IT. I've had a lot of jobs. I've owned 2 other companies. Everything is service-based, sales-based. And one of the things, I spent 5 years selling cars. And one of the things that I learned there is that a client that has a problem that's solved effectively is a much more significantly loyal client than a client that never has a problem at all. And I saw this every day in the service department. And I've taken that and I try to apply that to my business. I'm not ever going to tell my client you're going to have no problems. Everybody has problems.
Of course.
And everybody has technology problems because technology is fallible.
Right.
My job is to make sure that that problem gets solved effectively and allows you to go back to work, being a lawyer, being a doctor, whatever profession that you're at, which is arguably getting you paid more than you're paying me. And therefore, the sooner I can get you back to work, the more money you can make. Everything I talk about is about operational efficiency. We're not even touching on cybersecurity, which I do a lot of, but cybersecurity is a huge piece of operational efficiency because if your system gets ransomed, we all know what ransomware is, I think. I don't think I need to define that. But if your system gets ransomed, your systems are down, which means your business is down.
Right.
I can recover ransomware. I have backups, But the goal is to prevent it from getting there in the first place.
Right.
By choosing the right tools and the right cybersecurity stack, preventing the email, the spam emails from even getting through. Forget about the ones with spyware and other nefarious things. Just the time killers. So we use tools like email security gateways that block regular spam, not even security threats. So if you think about this, we all get probably hundreds of emails a day. If I can eliminate 90% of your spam, saving all of those minutes off your eyes, that you can now focus on reading the emails that are important to you, or helping your staff or your colleague instead of reading, emails from, New York Times or whatever.
Right.
That's operational efficiency.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it.
So Cisco does an annual security report, and the thing they repeat over and over is that it's not if you're going to get attacked by hackers, but when. And so, trying to explain to clients, this is going to happen. We just, need to have some kind of recovery in place.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, is often the, recovery and remediation. We're doing the blocking. Now we're going to do the tackling on the back end to have something to be ready.
Absolutely. I write incident response plans for my clients all the time. I just did one for a client the other day. And for those of our listeners, an incident response plan, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a plan when there's an incident on how you respond. Typically, they're talking about cybersecurity incidents. Right. But yeah, incident response plans are important because it puts down the map. I actually find incident response plans more important for the client than for the MSP, because I know what I need to do. My team knows what we need to do. Ransomware recovery is very process driven, right? There's not a lot of, there's things you can do and things you can't do. And that's that. Stopping the ransomware from getting there in the first place is more important.
Which is often a lot about training all the employees what to look for.
Yes. Right. So one of the things that we offer is cybersecurity awareness training. We include it for every single client because you're absolutely right. There is no single thing, there's no group of things, tools, that can guarantee that you will stop an incursion of some sort of event.
So a question pops to mind. When you're thinking about new technologies, new initiatives or programs to go after, how much of the decision is driven by, for my customers just had this problem, we got to figure out how to get ahead of this problem? Or how much of it is driven by, well, let's try to think of whatever problems people are going to have and get ahead of them that way?
One of the powers of the MSP, you hit the nail on the head, is the fact that I've got hundreds and hundreds of end users, many, many, many clients in many industries, and we experience problems across the board. So when my law firm has a problem, and then a week later, my accounting firm has the same problem, I already solved it for the law firm. If I was internal IT, my law firm would have solved it with their team. My accountant would have solved it with their team, and they wouldn't have talked to each other.
Right, there'd be no cross-learning.
Correct. So now when my guys face a problem 2 weeks ago, they face another problem on a different client today, they already know the solution. It all goes back to what? Operational efficiency. It took me an hour to solve the problem the first time because I had to learn how to solve the problem. The second time, it took me 5 minutes.
Right.
What's your biggest challenge as a brand trying to explain all of that to a client? They're looking at a website or they're looking at, they've had a chat with you. What do you face as your biggest branding issue there?
Have you ever tried to have a conversation about IT with someone who's not in IT?
Oh, yeah.
Their eyes glaze over.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest problem. Yeah. It is not a sexy business. It is not an interesting business for those of us outside of it.
It's similar for Asaf and I. It'd be great if decisions are just made by the one person you had to speak to, but sometimes the decisions are made by the 3 people you didn't get to talk to, and they're in on that decision team.
The committees.
Yeah, the committees.
Well, the other problem is a lot of people, particularly professionals like lawyers and CPAs, are making these decisions based on financials.
Right.
And your IT is not. You obviously have to take in the financial impact of your business into account, right? You can't sign up with an IT company that's going to charge you so much that you go broke.
Right.
But the idea that we are an expense is such a fallacy, and it's terrible. I've talked to accountants. Oh yeah, you should cut your IT expense. That's the last thing you should cut.
I try to never use the word cost or expense. Like when I talk about marketing or when I talk about IT, I try to say, here's going to be what your monthly investment is in our services.
Our language is, your IT is not an expense. We are a profit enabler.
Yeah.
right? You're going to spend X, but you're going to make X times 10 because I'm making you more efficient. I'm allowing you to have more uptime. Your employees are more productive. I had a client that was in a system that wasn't structured properly by previous IT, and they had 140 people, and their systems were going down for, on average, about 15 minutes per day.
Yeah.
140 people times 15 minutes times whatever their effective hourly rate is a lot of money. For that particular client, I calculated it somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 of lost wages.
Wow.
So I solved that problem for $300,000.
Yeah.
So David, in all your time and all of, the experiences and problems you face in IT, without getting specific about a specific client, what's the spiciest IT scenario or problem?
He's got to work in a flavor kind of thing, a spicy thing.
Now he's making heat. Our audience wants the heat.
I'm hesitant to give any particular stories because I don't want to, open up any of my clients' information out there. But I would say that across the board, the thing that throws us for a loop most is wiring.
Yeah.
I'm doing a wiring job now, Ethernet for my client. One of my clients is moving into a new space. When we were evaluating the space, we traced some erroneous wires, and it turned out to be a hole in the wall where the building had their building cameras. That is not allowed. You can't have someone else's infrastructure in your own space. It's bad.
Well, they call it, in your industry, we call it structured cabling.
Yes.
It's that for a reason. It's supposed to be structured. It's supposed to have a place. And you run into all my favorite acronyms, PoE and, power over Ethernet and things like that.
There are two subreddits that I absolutely love, for those of you who are Reddit fans. There's cable porn and cable fail. Look them both up.
You are an interesting guy there, David.
Love it.
If you've ever been into a data center or a big office that has a lot of structured cabling, you've got all of this cabling, sometimes hundreds of cables coming into one single room, ending up on one single rack. It can become a hot mess really, really fast. Yep. And then you have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out what cable goes where.
Right.
So the good cable guys, they are going to create cable porn where all of the wiring looks like waterfalls.
It's all in the presentation.
It is wonderful.
It's this beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Full of right angles and cable connectors. I know.
And look, we are not structured cabling guys. I do some of my own cabling. I outsource it to a really, really solid company that does wonderful work for the larger stuff. But I understand the infrastructure behind it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that throws me off all the time. I had another client, she calls me up, says, I need a new switch, a little desktop switch, because I only have one port for two desks. And two desks is a computer and a phone and a computer and a phone. So I need 4 ports, but there's only one. I was like, okay, can you take a picture of it before I order a switch? Maybe there's other things. And I see another port on the floor. I said, oh, let me come and test that port. Turns out that was just a port that was never connected to any wire. So whoever wired up that company 15 years ago put a jack in and never hooked it up to anything.
Yeah.
I had to open up the plate and actually look at this because I'm like, why can't I find this?
It's amazing in an older building, and I don't mean much older, but any older building, the amount of times that different electricians and different IT companies have been through and just done what they needed to do. And there's no instructions left. And as somebody leaves, there's nothing done. David, I really have enjoyed having you here because I get to talk a little bit about IT, and which is some of my background in.
You probably don't get to do it very often.
I talk about technology and business, and often I'm talking about marketing. But this has been great. I appreciate you being a guest on the Brand Telling Podcast. Why don't you tell people how to contact Cypress Grove Technologies?
Thank you,
and how they can get in contact with you.
So there's several different ways. The primary way is call one of you guys and be introduced to me, right? If Asaf, someone, you just do an email introduction. That's my favorite way of being introduced. But if a client is just listening and doesn't know, the answer is go to my website. It's nice and simple. It's CYPRESSGROVE.com. Our contact information is there. Alternatively, you could email me at D as in David, Steiner, STEINER, at cypressgrove.com.
That's fantastic.
And the last thing I want to do is I want to leave our listeners with one final statement, which I didn't get a chance to really talk about earlier. We talked about branding and methodology and what makes me different. At the end of the day, the Cypress Grove methodology boils down to one simple statement: Profit is a result. It's not the motivation for getting up in the morning. It's not the reason why my guys do what they do. It is the result of what we do. We wake up and we go to work and we provide stellar service because that's what we do. We're going to make money if we do stellar service. So because we do stellar service, profit is a result.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
David, thank you again.
So, Arthur, it's the end of December. It's 2024, and right around the corner is 2025. What's on the horizon for the Brand Telling Podcast?
Yeah, we're going to have some exciting guests. I'm hoping to talk to Elon, Jeff Bezos, half of Trump's cabinet. Wait, I'm sorry, that's my wish list. I'm not talking to any of them for the Brand Telling Podcast next year. But we will be talking to business owners about the challenges that they're experiencing in the brand, about ways that they've pivoted and ways that they've shaped the brand. It's been really great. We've gotten 13 episodes in the first half year. And when we come back in 2025, that will be great. Every time I think of like 2025, I think that's like Jetsons time, So we'll have to fly in on like our little hovercrafts and record the podcast.
Other than the flying cars, we're pretty much there.
Yeah. We can do, Zoom. They figured that out on the Jetsons. Between the Jetsons and the Simpsons, I think we should just rewatch all of those episodes to see what's coming. The Jetsons are certainly on all the technology, and the Simpsons have been on top of everything else. One of those guys owned a time machine. I'm pretty sure of it.
Is it life imitating art or the other way around?
That's right. And that's what we'll be talking about next on the Brand Telling Podcast. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been a great first kickoff of the Brand Telling Podcast 2.0 episodes. And, we're hoping to have some great guests for you again next year. Do me a favor, 2 things. 1, subscribe to the podcast so you know when there's somebody coming and you get to hear about the latest podcast, which drops every Wednesday. And 2, if you do know a good guest, send us a note at podcast@brandtelling.com, and we'll send them to the guest form and look at having them on as a guest.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talking to all the brand builders out there in 2025. And from myself, Asaf, the brand chef Bachman, and my partner, Arthur Germain, Chief Brand Teller, we're wishing everybody happy holidays for 2024.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for the Brand Telling Podcast. If you have a story idea or would like to be a guest on the podcast, please send us an email at podcast@brandtelling.com.